everyone is a little bit heightened and false because everyone's terrified of being marked down because the consequences of that are unpleasant. So it's basically the world we live in.
First of all, I don't inherently have a problem with anyone who watches or enjoys Black Mirror. You can like whatever you want. I don't care, but I just personally loathe it. I've never liked any of the characters or even vaguely related to them, and I think it's so reactionary and a really dated product of the time, and it feels like watching a film from the 50s where radios take over people's brains or something. I think it's something we'll look back on in 30 years and be like, why did we ever believe this shit? I like technology and I like human progression. I'm not defending it to the degree that I hate all media and art that tries to say otherwise. I like Ghost in the Shell and stuff, and I think that has a very unique way of presenting technology as something good and bad. Black Mirror oversimplifies it, I think. It feels like social commentaries about the dangers of modern technology always seem to make it either about VR or social media. It feels like it's the most oversaturated and soulless subjects of filmmaking at the moment. And if anyone's a student filmmaker or watches student films, you've probably seen a dozen of these sort of not well thought out light dystopian, or like, there's a new product and it's gonna change your life, but it's just Facebook or a dating app or something. Silly billies. I'd say Black Mirror is largely the cause of this sort of resurgence of simplified technology-fearing social commentaries, and then seeing them ironically just like plastered around on Facebook and talking about their 4K resolution. It's just hypocritical and I don't like it. Art and media has great power for social commentary, and I just don't like the way it feels like a bit of a dark age of it at the moment. Recently, I started watching the 1991 sitcom Dinosaurs, and I didn't expect any form of social commentary out of it. I've just been going through the crazy list of Jim Henson productions because I really like puppets, and Dinosaurs really took me by surprise in how it manages to be both a far more genuinely terrifying social commentary than Black Mirror, but it's also like much more likable and charming and just so much more enjoyable. And I think the first scene just says it all. And I know I use this like first scene to introduce something a lot. Great works tend to have really kind of dense openings, and so I'm not being lazy, there's just a correlation. It's the easiest way to show it, but here is the first scene of Dinosaurs.
A meteor 3 times the size of Earth is heading towards us in a collision course that will result in the extinction of all life on this planet. This just in? No, it's not.
Oh, good.
The horror of Dinosaurs comes from the complacency in the face of inescapable destruction. I talked about the Hitchcock effect in my last video, and I think that kind of applies here, so I'll just summarize it really quickly. But the Hitchcock effect is the difference between suspense and surprise. And suspense is when we know something bad's going to happen, but the characters on screen don't. In this case, it's the extinction of the dinosaurs. But surprise would be if we didn't know that they just suddenly became extinct, and then on the last episode they just did. Which they do, but it's far from unexpected. But also in the universe of the show, extinction is kind of painted as something that the dinosaurs expect to an extent. And that's where a lot of the social commentary and the comedy comes from.
Look, I'm just having a hard time with numbers and dates.
Why?
Well, because if this is the year 60 million in 3, why is next year 60 million in 2? Why are we counting backwards? What are we waiting for?
So Dinosaurs is about the Sinclair family, and they're just an average working family in the world of Pangaea. And it's not their problem to worry about extinction, they're just average people. And so they focus on sustaining their average family life for as long as possible. But death and destruction and animalistic brutality just contests them constantly. And so Dinosaurs is the story of people attempting to domesticate and rationalize and prolong an absurdly crazy and extremely finite world, trying to make it last forever and keep on building society and progressing, and also being held back by traditions.
Where's your move? Where'd it go?
The great thing about this setup is that it leads to so many interesting narrative conflicts of human desire to remain comfortable and stick to a routine in the face of extinction. The world of Dinosaurs kind of appears Flintstone-esque as like translating a modern life into the Jurassic period. But there's actually some subtle differences in this sort of collective social consciousness that appears in the Dinosaurs universe. So for one thing, the dinosaurs are extremely comfortable with death. They frequently accept death, and death is a part of so many of their traditions. So paralleling this absurd sort of social trait of everyone just accepting death at the drop of a hat, and comparing it to the overall societal goal of progressing life and sustaining life. That's what society is for, making life the best it can be for the most amount of people, and then seeing everyone just so prepared to die. It's bizarre, especially in this like family sitcom. Death comes up so much in Dinosaurs that it gave me like such bad death anxiety, like watching it at night, so I had to like watch it in the morning instead. Speaking of the Flintstones, Dinosaurs has a lot in common with the 2016 Flintstones comic reboot, and they both kind of satirize human traditions in this really funny way and highlight the conflict of individual desires against this wider narrative of we need to follow traditions, and then the individual says why. And they both tell the story of a new dawn of civilization and making up the rules as they go along and abiding by these really bizarre traditions that have just been born out of nothing. If you like the ending of series 3 episode 2, I think it was, in Rick and Morty, where they go to the Mad Max world and then they introduce technology, it becomes funny because it's a juxtaposition of having this really brutal world become domesticated. Like, Dinosaurs and the Flintstones comic is just that times 1,000. Now, one of the main reasons I hate Black Mirror is because of how painfully dated it is. And so you may look at Dinosaurs and say the same thing, and you know, that's true to an extent, and there's definitely some very 90s moments, as well as it just being a sitcom with morals which feels very 90s. But I think these aspects are largely aesthetic, and the core of the show is timeless. I feel as if it alludes more to sort of post-war suburbia than the 90s. So sort of like 50s America is depicted as being really conservative and domestic and homely, despite the backdrop of this sort of atrocity of the war and stuff. And Dinosaurs deconstructs this type of all-American family that would appear during this time. But that doesn't make it dated. It merely draws parallel between a time that was extremely routine and domestic to create a stronger contrast against a completely wild and unforgiving backdrop. Black Mirror, however, feels as if the core of its show is extremely dated. I understand that the fear of technology is a relatively timeless message, but when people care less about VR and social media, no one's gonna look at Black Mirror and care, and think it's an actual impactful message. Finally, there's just such a difference in tone between Dinosaurs and Black Mirror, and I think they both do their respective tone amazingly. I just love what Dinosaurs is going for so much more than Black Mirror. There's so much more sincerity and joy and soul in Dinosaurs, and it only makes the heavier aspects of the show even more hard-hitting. Like, there's actual jokes and funny puppets and great music, and it's just nice. But watching Black Mirror doesn't feel nice, and it's not meant to, but it feels like I'm being lectured on how vapid I am, and that I'm ruining the world with my hunger for immersive games and social media. And it's like Charlie Brooker's shouting at me, being like, this is you, look how stupid you are for being on the internet, go outside. Dinosaurs is completely devoid of that sort of smug omnipotence of someone looking down at you and trying to make you feel ashamed. And, you know, it's not like I can't take being told by a piece of art that I'm bad. So many of my favourite pieces of art have the theme of critiquing the audience, and they do it great, but I just don't get that from Black Mirror at all. Dinosaurs just straight up shows me how the characters live, because there's so much of Dinosaurs and so many characters and so many places it goes, the audience can just relate to them when they can. Maybe the fact that Black Mirror is an anthology series gives it a bit of a disadvantage over the characters of Dinosaurs, because you don't have to, but most of the time they're obviously very one note because they're only in it for 40 minutes, and it's like you have to show exactly what they're about, and they can't really have much room for character. It's just so concentrated in Black Mirror that you have to show exactly what that character's about, and then it just makes me feel like there's nothing to them. I can't imagine the characters in Black Mirror doing anything but Black Mirror. But with Dinosaurs, I can even picture the dinosaurs in Black Mirror. That's how versatile and great the characters are in Dinosaurs. I'd rather hang out with the characters in Dinosaurs any day than any of the cast of Black Mirror. I don't want to hang out with some traveling, unironic Xavier Renegade Angel type guy. I want to hang out with a little baby dinosaur. But yeah, I'm getting a bit off topic, but obviously so much of this is subjective and to your own personal taste, and Black Mirror just isn't for me when you boil it down, and that's fine. And Dinosaurs isn't for everyone either, but if you're starting to feel the fatigue of simplified social commentaries on the dangers of technology, then I urge you to check out Dinosaurs.
Technology!
This is fucking taking my memory!
Is this where we're headed? I mean, as a world? You know what I mean? As a society?
Hello, thanks for watching. This video is a little bit rushed. I only have my microphone for a short period of time until I have to get a new one. So if you feel like there's anything I didn't explain very well, or you wanna have a conversation about why you think Black Mirror is better than Dinosaurs, or why you think I'm missing out the merits of Black Mirror, or I'm overpraising Dinosaurs, anything at all, happy to talk about it. But thanks again for watching. I'll see you next Monday.